This is Unpivot, the show for Excel and Power BI fans and anyone who loves chatting about data. I'm Wyn Hopkins.
I'm Mark Proctor.
I'm Giles Male. And I'm nervous.
And Sue is away. Now, which of you two remember where Sue's gone? Giles, do you remember where Sue's gone?
Nope.
I think it's Croatia. And
Very
she's
good, Mark. Yes.
So she's going to take lots of walks around various places.
Yes, Mark saves us from the men don't listen proof.
There you go.
So, yeah, Giles, you let us down. So Sue's away. So we have a special guest who Giles isn't aware of who this is.
I still don't understand why it's just me. Why does everybody just Sue know?
Sue knew, yeah. So I told Sue when she wasn't here. So I think Mark knows he's because he's an admin, he can see the special guest in the lobby. So Giles just doesn't know. So are we ready for a reveal? It is a he.
It's a he.
It is a he.
Can I just for context? No, I don't. Do you know what? No, there's no context. I'm ready.
Giles is in his garden for context for anybody listening on the podcast, or his sister's garden. So we've got a he, the special guest, from the Excel world. I think we can safely say, American. And I think if I give any more clues than that, other than he's a bit of a legend, I think you'd probably just get it straight away. So let's add him to the stage.
Hey, all right.
Welcome, Bill Jelen.
Oh, yes!
This is hilarious.
Oh, it's a good surprise. Hello, Bill.
That was a polite reaction, Giles. Thanks. I'm leaving.
Absolutely chuffed to bits. That's great. I was so nervous that it was going to be a cheat sheet fiend. But it's the legendary Mr.
Not
Excel.
a fan of a cheat sheet.
I will remember never to post a cheat sheet ever.
Yeah, they're great. I'm sure yours would be great. Hello.
Were the sunglasses going to persist if it was someone else? Was that the plan?
Yeah, that was me trying to keep my poker face. Like, had it been terrible, I would have just kept them on and.
I'm honored that the sunglasses came off.
Hey, Giles, have you got somebody planning to call you in 4 minutes? Just sort of so you can say, "Oh,
yeah,
take this."
Yeah. Oh, how cool! I'm excited now. This is great.
So, Bill, tell us where you are. Where are you right now?
Currently, I'm on the east coast of Florida, sitting in my office, where it is hot today, as always. All summer will be hot. So,
and you are within photographic distance of rockets taking off?
Yes, just 11 miles that way. And right above me, we have a launch deck up there that we go up and watch rockets, photograph every rocket that we can, unless we fall asleep or something. They launch in the middle of the night sometimes. You don't wake up. But you do wake up. It's funny. You'll be lying in bed. All of a sudden, you'll be awake because the house is shaking. Son of a bitch. Once the house starts shaking, there's no way. It's too late. Like the photo is over. So
it's done.
You wake up for everyone.
Would you mind just introducing yourself, Bill, just in case folks don't know?
Sure. I am Bill Jelen, and a long, long time ago, back in 1998, I launched a little website because I was the smartest guy talking about Excel in my office. And so I, in the office, was known as Mr. Excel. So I launched a website called MrExcel.com and said, send me your Excel questions. And I very quickly learned that I knew everything about what I had to do in Excel. But geez, I was getting just hammered with questions I had no clue on. But you're not live in front of anyone, so you go figure out the answer and send it in. And that was 1998. Wow, we're coming up on 27 years. So,
jeez, it's full on.
I'm grayer now than when I started.
Yeah.
And 69 books.
70 just shipped. 70 just shipped to the printer.
Nice.
And I'm actually working on 71 already, which just means I'm a glutton for punishment.
What was your first one?
Relentless.
The first book, Guerrilla Data Analysis Using Microsoft Excel, which Oz now is the king of in the third edition, my first edition. And with a print run of, I love this, a print run of 10. I went down to the
Confident then.
store, and they printed 10 and spiral bounded them with a color cover. And when those sold out, I printed another 10. And then the day that I ordered 100, I was like, oh, wow, 100.
Cool.
Great.
I remember you told this story, and I can't remember where you told it, and I think this was, it must have been after the 10, and I don't know how far after, that you'd been invited to this bookshop to do a signing.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, I think there were two stories. One of them was like, you don't know who's going to turn up, and literally for one of the book signings, nobody turned up whatsoever.
It was in New York City, so we're in Manhattan at a computer bookstore. In the window, they had like 20 copies of the book Meet Mr. Excel. Only one guy shows up, and I was like, oh my gosh. But then out on the West Coast, we actually had a small group of about 6 or 7 people show up, which after the one just seemed like a huge crowd. And the thing that I've learned about that, if I'm ever walking through a bookstore and I see some lonely author there, it doesn't matter what the book is, I will go up and talk to them and give them $20 for their stupid book, because I know how miserable it is to be there and no one to care about you at all.
Nice.
And I think you said you had another one where you did a book signing, and the shop took the money for the book signing and then went out of business before you got paid for the books.
That was the 6. That was the people where we had 6. Yeah, never got paid for those. So, but I have great photos from the day, and I still every once in a while hear from someone like, "Hey, I was at that book signing. Oh, the good one. Okay."
Did you self-publish from the beginning then, Bill?
From the beginning, yeah, and that's actually, I think it was a great way to go, because I don't like rejection. I didn't want to shop the book out, so I just put the book out, and it started getting 5-star reviews, which was great. And then the publisher came to me, like, "Hey, we saw your book out there. We think you should write for us." And so it goes back and forth. Some I self-publish, and then others I let Microsoft Press. It's Microsoft Press today acquired, or as part of that empire that publishes. So yeah, some are Microsoft Press books, and then some are just my silly little books. Yeah. Well, with me,
17 is bad.
the great news with me is no one can tell me not to put something in. So it's like, Microsoft Press will sometimes say you should tone that down. Sorry,
Bill. How do you keep the kind of motivation going though for 70 books in that? I'm guessing Microsoft keep giving you more topics to talk about, but wow.
I am not making this up. We have a 2-story house here, and it's 17 steps down from the second floor to the first floor. And 4 weeks ago, I was walking down those steps with my phone in my hand, and I opened email, and I'm pretty alarmed because the very first email is from Amazon, and the subject line is "New from Bill Jelen." I opened it up, and apparently a year ago, I told them I was writing this book, and then completely forgot that I was writing a book. So they're now selling a book that I haven't written. I'm like, oh. So that puts a gun to your head, and you do nothing for 4 weeks until you send the book to the printer. Yeah. So that's the motivation there. Right.
Wow.
And it's not the first time. It's not the first time I found out from Amazon that I have a book that's due very soon. Yeah, I should have a little whiteboard or something. Long ago, I had a whiteboard. Where'd the whiteboard go? Like, the whiteboard would remind me of things like that.
What's next?
So.
Right, we'll come back to you, Bill, because we've got loads of questions. But little congratulations, following on from a couple of episodes ago. Mark and Giles were up for an award at the Gen CFO. Was this the one at? Oh, look at this! Mark's got his award out.
Got my award out. There you go.
So you both won something, different awards. So talk us through it. What was the night? Where was it again?
It was
Ministry of Sound or something, was it?
It was at the Ministry of Sound in London, which was the first time I've ever been there. I was never cool enough when I was younger. So the Ministry of Sound in London, Giles and I were both nominated for Social Media of the Year and Resource of the Year, and we took one each, which was the it's the fairest thing to happen, because can you imagine if Giles would have won both? It would have been unbearable.
Could you imagine?
It would have been unbearable for just forever.
I don't think I wouldn't have mentioned it. I wouldn't have talked about it, to be honest. If I'd won both, I wouldn't have want to make.
No, you would have had 20 dancers sing about it. That's what you would have done.
And we're not allowed to talk about the dancers or any of this project. It's all hush hush.
Not allowed to talk about anything that may or may not have taken place this week that may or may not be released in months to come. Can't talk about it. Can't talk. Nothing happened. Nothing's happened this week. It's fine. It's all good. So my award was for. I moved, by the way, because I think my internet might be cutting out in my sister's garden. Hopefully you can hear me. The award I got was for the first MVP video. And Mark's was for being a good Excel trainer. So there you go. I don't know. You have to judge which one is more valuable to the Excel community.
Yeah, I mean, you've got resource of the year. I mean, it's like the best resource in general, right? That definitely outweighs social media. That's just a part of a resource, isn't it? Social media. So mine's clearly a more important award. I think you'll find, Giles. That's what you.
I made more people smile. That's and in life, what's more important, smiling or getting better at Excel? I don't know. What do you think, Bill? Let's leave it down to Bill.
Just a specific question. The award, is it for the best social media post or the best social media post, including 20 dancers about Excel? Which was the category?
It was vague.
Okay, all right.
So I think it was just broadly for the video.
I think you both should be shoved. That's just awesome, and congratulations.
Yeah, well done, folks. Well done.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Carry that with me everywhere. Driving down the road, have that in the car in case the police pull you over. You see this? Get you out of speeding tickets.
Yeah, just go. And has anybody got any news? This is a little news section. I've got one thing to complain about. Well, not complain, just was a bit of a weird one. Anybody else got anything? Or
is it news about Excel specifically?
Excel-y, data-y, anything you've seen, any sort of, it doesn't have to be. It could be anything sort of just that you're up to as well.
I've got a tiny bit of news
having
about
to
Excel.
do a new book.
Tiny bit of news about Excel. Yeah. Okay, so the Copilot pane on the right-hand side of Excel is getting a makeover. They are bringing the chat history up. It was very, very hidden before, and now it's coming up. And a few other things, like the from image is being promoted so people can discover that more. And I just happened to discover that because I have two computers here, and this one has the old experience and this one has the brand new experience. So I've been flighted on that one, which is really good that it happened like 2 days before I went to print, because then I could include the right screenshots.
Actually,
otherwise,
can you expand on the flighting concept? Because this was something I had no idea of until I became an MVP. So what is it? Explain it to the listeners.
Microsoft's goal, and I like it, is that they do not want to ruin the lives of 750 million people by pushing out a bug. Right. So what they do is they have people opt in, crazy people like a lot of us who say, "Oh, we want to be on the insiders fast. We want the newest, greatest things." But then, even then, they don't want to ruin all of our lives. Maybe because they like us, probably not. And so what they do is they say, "Oh, hey, we're just going to roll this out to 25% of you and see if we get any bug reports. If we don't get any bug reports, then maybe we'll go to 50% of you. And then eventually, a week later, 100% of you." But what it does is it creates this huge jealousy. I'm just going to call it what it is. It's jealousy, because someone on the list will have it and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't have it." And then I'll run around to every computer in the house updating, trying to be in the lucky 25%, because God forbid someone will get a video up on YouTube before I do.
Yeah. You've got a good strike rate of getting that first video out, I reckon, Bill. You're it's like moments after sometimes.
It's the low production values. That's it. You look at Layla, and it's just amazing, and she must edit the heck out of that. And I'm like, this was recorded 7 minutes ago. Yes, it was. All right.
And how many computers have you got?
So 2 here. Mary Ellen has 1. There's a 4th laptop, and I could, if I needed to, dig out the 5th laptop. And of course, they're all on Insiders Fast, so they all have a chance. One time, my coworker in Turkey, I had to loop him in because he had the only computer that had it, And so I had to, go to meeting or something and try and record it over the thing. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And like this one wasn't even announced. It's just like, well, wait a second. And the thing that really drives me crazy is there's a better feature on the right one, but better interface on the left one. Like who decided to flight it that way? Not give everyone everything.
And
Bill, I've got a question for you.
Sorry, go on, Giles.
Bill, just a question for you, just because you brought up Copilot. How are you getting on with Copilot? And because I use ChatGPT a lot, but I'm not using Copilot, so I'd be intrigued to hear your views.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an interesting question. My day-to-day is ChatGPT. I bought ChatGPT Pro, and I have a great. I have custom GPTs running in ChatGPT, and I'm super happy. I try to do the exact same thing in Copilot, and it's flaky. I mean, it seems like it's a little behind, which you wonder, like how could it be behind? It's the same basic technology. I had the craziest. So I know how insane this sounds. I was convinced that there were two Copilots, because one day it would do something for me, and the next day it said it couldn't. I said, well, wait a second. Yesterday you said you could, and it said, oh, well, that Copilot can do it. I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm not asking for one or the other. And about a week ago, I was on a LinkedIn Live with 3 of the Excel project managers, and David Monroy, he actually came on and he caught that I had accidentally entered deeper analysis, and deeper analysis doesn't know how to do anything that the regular Copilot does. And he's like, you need to get out of deeper analysis, and then things will start to work. And that's such a subtle thing to me, because I'm working on a whole bunch of topics for the book. And so I'm in and out of deeper analysis. And that could explain why some days it just has no idea how to do things that it did perfectly well yesterday, which just drove me nuts. But now that I potentially understand that, maybe it won't be as bad. I don't know, but
I got caught by it as well, Bill. I got caught by that.
Being in deeper analysis, yeah.
They need to make the screen a different color or something.
Something, right? They really are too, But I mean, how many different Excels are there? And they could just call them all Excel. You got Excel Online, Excel for the Mac, Excel for 32-bit, Excel for 64-bit, Excel for the iPhone. They're all just called Excel. So we'll never get them to call Copilot something different or change the color. Even if you and I were running the place, I would just, if I could just get the keys for building 33 one night, we could go in and just the 5 things that are driving each of us crazy. There'd be 20 new things, have them roll out next Tuesday, and the world would be a better place. We'd be in jail probably for breaking in.
But you'll have seen, the Excel. Nobody knows Excel, all of Excel. Like the project managers come and go, and you've been there long enough, to the MVP summit back in the day and all this sort of stuff that you'd have seen a whole heap of people. Is there anybody who's still original there from when you were there?
Eric Patterson goes way, way back. Eric, I think, is there from the beginning. And then there's some of the early people are no longer with Microsoft, but they're still available and still, tuned in, like Dan Badigan and Joe Chirilov. I don't know how to pronounce it. So there's some that have been around forever. But there's also some that are brand new, right? And I remember the first time I used to have these conspiracy theories, like the Excel team is doing this to hack us off. And so I pitched to one of the project managers, I think you're doing it for this reason. And they're like, their answer was just like, oh no, they don't know that feature even exists. It's like, yeah, because you work on your little bit of Excel, and I think, they're not using Excel 40, 60, 80 hours a week like we are, potentially. Or the people watching this podcast. I have to guess, if you're watching this podcast, you're probably...
It's on YouTube as well.
You're using Excel a lot, right? I like to say we use Excel 40 hours a week, and those are the weeks we're on vacation.
Nice. So talking about features that sort of shouldn't break things, this is what happened to me last week. 5 hours of my day wasted. Oh, no. So a Power Query been refreshing happily. It was consolidating files from a SharePoint folder. Been working beautifully for a year, right? Happy days. Then all of a sudden, the client gets a authentication error. You need to log in, and that little pop-up screen to pick organizational account and sign in pops up. So they do that, and then it just pops up again, and then they do it, and it pops up again, and just not working. So I get them to clear their credentials, put new ones in, try and change it from SharePoint files to SharePoint content. So tried everything, right? Eventually, somebody else came on the call and they said, I had an issue once with the file length was too long, the name of the... And I went, it shouldn't be given this warning, but I'm willing to give anything a try. So we started narrowing it down, and it looked like, 250 odd, because it's a long file path. Almost got there. And then we went past that cutoff, and it's like, it's not that. And then we just stumped. And then they brought up a couple of the files, sample files. There was a hash symbol in one of the file names. That's what was causing the issue. If you put a hash in a file name and Power Query is trying to use from folder, it causes this authentication error. And that is just my mind. I was just, I gave up then. It was just like, how does this happen? I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know you could put question marks and hashes in file names. When did they introduce that?
It seems like a really bad thing to do, but someone who doesn't know that it seems like a really bad thing to do would be like, why not? This is file number 10.
Yeah. So beware, everybody. That was my 5 hours of my day wasted and 2 minutes of your time listening to me moan about it. So
now here's the question. That's a great bit of information. That is just like out of 750 million people using Excel, 12 are going to be stung by that in the next month. But how do they ever find that piece of information? Like there should be some repository of all weird Excel knowledge.
The real quirks. Yeah. That'd be good.
Right.
Any other news?
I've also got one on a similar Power Query type topic. Also a combined files issue. So I had some files that were saved on. So in my documents folder, my documents folder happens to be synced to OneDrive. I restarted my PC, but OneDrive didn't start. So therefore, all I've got is my local documents, right, which are synced back to my PC. But when I click the combined files icon, it says connecting and then does nothing. It doesn't actually bring up the window to combine the files. The files are there locally, but it did absolutely nothing. So literally, I was like, "Is my network? Is it a network connection issue? I mean, why is it not doing anything?" And I spent some time on that. Just look, why is this not? Why is nothing happening? Why? I clicked combined files like 10 times. I closed Excel, reopened Excel, combined files, connected to the folder again. And it's all because I hadn't signed in. I didn't have OneDrive open, but clearly, even though it's going to a local file path, it must in the background go, that's a local file path, but I know it comes from OneDrive. Therefore, I'm going to connect to OneDrive. But it doesn't even give you a warning message. It just did nothing.
Stuck.
Frustrating.
You love these things.
I've got boring news. If you want this. I had an issue for about 2 weeks where I lost the outline. You know, when you start typing in a formula and you go to another worksheet, or even on the same worksheet, you get the outline of the cells you're highlighting. I just lost it. And it was amazing how much it slowed me down, because I was doing this for Excel World Championship battles. So whenever I went to another tab, I could see in the corner, I could see the cells. But if I was holding shift and trying to, highlight a range, I couldn't see the outline. And it made me lose a lot of sleep. And then one day it just came back. So I don't know whether it was a beta channel thing or something else, but yeah, very tiny change really helped me back.
That would drive me crazy. Yeah. I mean, did you try start, restart, wear the hat, do the spin?
Yeah, all of those things. Yeah.
Nothing. None of those.
But are you using beta channel in daily life? You folks?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't change out of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I haven't been that brave. I just delve into it now and again to try things out when they arrive. But you're actually using it in anger, as it were. Okay. Yeah, that's how you find the real bugs, right?
Because I changed over and I can't be bothered to change in and out of it. But it's I don't know how that affects me.
Fair enough.
My perception is the semi-annual channel. Like, I don't think they have anything. Are they getting any features? Semi-annual? I feel so bad for them. They're so far behind.
I think they'll get some ifs next week.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did a session for some CPAs a few weeks back, and there was people. I was showing them what did I show them? Regex and something else, I think. And they were just like, I haven't got it, semi-annual. It's just like, oh, that'll come soon. And then this, that. There's a few things in there that, yeah, semi-annual didn't have, which is the big frustration now. Is like you say, Bill, there's 15 different versions of Excel. And then within that, there's another 100 different, what channel you're on. And within that, what update you on. Like somebody on a forum the other day said, oh, I'm on 2505, but I haven't got, I don't know, XLOOKUP or something. I was like, that's really weird. But I think the security patch for Excel 2021 is called 2505 or something. So people say that, they're looking at this, trying to find out what version they're on. I just don't know. And that's within companies as well. Different people within the same organization on different versions. It's a bit of a real challenge now.
Now, I believe that Excel 2016 and 2019 both go out of support from Microsoft in October. So in theory, by October, all companies should have a dynamic array enabled version of Excel. In theory, I mean, we know that won't be the case because there's still people on 2007. But equally, it's all of that pre-dynamic array stuff should disappear. So there's 2016 and 2019 that both go out of support in October.
In theory, that's good.
In theory, yeah. I mean,
as I'm sitting here on my Windows 10 computer that refuses to upgrade to 11.
What's your views on the argument that people don't get the latest version because they're worried about the updates and things? It feels to me like it's actually more secure.
It is. And we're on the bleeding edge. The people who got that first 25%, like they've already found the problems. There's a million people that have beta tested the heck out of this thing. And, we found the issues and the Excel team fixes them. Like nothing should ever make it to that. Even the slow, insider slow, like there should never be a bug that makes it to insider slow because then the people on insiders fast aren't doing their job. So I think it's hugely safe. I think, but
I'm not aware of anything that's come out into like monthly release that's ever been an issue.
Right. No.
Not that I can think of anyway.
Yeah.
So interesting. Right. So I think we might try. Well, we've got a few different questions, really. We've already talked a little bit about Copilot and ChatGPT, but I think we can get into that more. I've also got questions about content creation and about sort of, the what our thoughts are on certain features and things. I'm not sure. What should we jump into? And then I'll do the jingle. I'll do the jingle. Oh, don't be worried,
jingle, yeah.
There will be a jingle. But what do we reckon? Well, let me start the jingle. Let's have a little think while I play the little jingle here. Here we go. And we'll go for this one.
It's the question, it's the question, it's the question of the week. It's the question, it's the question, it's the question of the week.
All right.
Only Mark did not dance.
I moved. Okay. I don't dance. It's
you don't. I got a funny story from the awards.
No.
Can I tell the story quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Ministry of Sound. He's got a dance.
It's really funny. So the Ministry of Sound, they had dancers there that were hired, by Chris and the team, and they had a singer who was going round the dance floor and getting people to have a little dance. And she went up to Mark. I was stood next to Mark. She kind of went towards both Mark and I. And as she came towards me, I just got there first and pointed to Mark, going like, he wants to dance with you. Mark did not want to dance with her. Mark then proceeded to run away from the lady with the microphone.
Nice.
Yep.
It was great. Good fun.
Very good. So question of the week then. I actually want to go back into the whole Copilot ChatGPT thing as well. And also just talk about content creation because Bill's here and I've got some questions for him. Actually, Bill, my first question for you, not to do with ChatGPT, is the jingle at the start of your videos, the Mr. Excel videos, the little jazz organ playing away a la ice hockey game type thing.
Right.
where did that come from, and how did you come up? What was the story behind that?
Okay, so back in the day, I had a jingle very much like your jingle, written by the guy in England who writes all the jingles for the podcast, right? And we had a special jingle on Wednesdays. It was right after Excel 2007 came out, and they went to the ribbon. And there was a great little ditty that we would play on Wednesdays. It was called "Where Is It Wednesday?" And this is a great feature in Excel, but they moved it, and no one can find where it is. And we would go figure out where it was on the ribbon and how it worked. So, where is it Wednesday? It's a great feature. I just can't find it anymore. Right. So that was the long thing. And then over the years, that just became shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think it's just, I just can't find it anymore is the last remnants of that. And then I met this wonderful lady who for 41 years played for the Chicago White Sox baseball team, not as a baseball player, but as the organist. And she is the person, I don't know if this is going to translate across borders, but she is the person who made it popular to play na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye when the opposing pitcher is taken out, right? And she was not nominated into the Baseball Hall of Fame, but something far more important, the baseball reliquary for that. So she is just a legend. And it turns out that she was on a Cameo, and for $50 you could get her to play something. So I had her play something for my dad's birthday. And I said, wow, it's such an honor to meet you. And I said, could I hire you to record a few little ditties for me? And she is just such a wonderful person. By ear, you just give her something and she'll play it out on the organ. So, and she thinks this is cool. She doesn't understand the Excel is going on, but she's like, hey, look, I'm the theme song for this high-tech podcast. Yeah, so it's fun. Her name is Nancy Faust. And yeah, I'm just I said to her, Nancy, let me just do this on opening day and the All-Star game in the World Series, like just 5 days a year. She's like, you can do it all the time. So it just became the thing. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's the story. And sometimes I have other bumpers like the Danger Zone. There's a highway. That's Kenny Loggins. Highway to the. So sometimes you'll hear if something bad's about to happen, you'll hear highway to the danger zone in the background. Now I'll get a note from Kenny Loggins' lawyer. Hey, you stole our thing.
Yeah, not monetizable.
Yeah.
So didn't you? I'm going off on a tangent again now. I used to listen to an actual podcast, your Excel tips podcast.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
Did that just stop and get replaced by YouTube then?
No, it's the exact same thing. It just moved to YouTube. I mean, actually, at one point it was in 16 different places. It would get posted. We would use Libsyn, Libsyn, and they would post it to 16 places. But then YouTube started sending me money, right? And so I'm like, oh, none of these other 15 people are sending me any money. So I just started uploading just to YouTube. But yeah, we were on the day that the Apple iPod came out in video. I already had the video podcast running. I was a top 10. I was in the world, not just tech. I was a top 10 podcast on iTunes, video podcast on iTunes, because there were only 10 of us. Yeah. And then the next week, NPR joined in and we all fell down. But yeah, up until that point. So it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
I do remember listening to that. And I was just like, and I suddenly thought about it the other day. I went, I even searched on iTunes. I went, oh, it's Bill Jelen.
I don't think it's there. And we still have all those old episodes on a DVD somewhere. I used to sell a little DVD of the old episodes, which was crazy, but whatever.
So, Bill, can you just you're just full of great stories, right? And that just make me smile. I'm sure I've heard. I'll get this wrong, so correct me as I go. But there was something like somebody had mentioned that there was somebody on YouTube who had got like these thousands of videos, and you're like, they're talking about me. And then they mentioned the fact that this other channel was it Excel is Fun, and you're like, who's Excel is Fun?
Right. He said
this other person producing thousands of videos as well. How did I not know about them?
Yeah, and what he said was, it's that funny guy on YouTube. And I'm like, I'm the funny guy on YouTube. He's like, no, it's not you. I'm like, what? He says, yeah, he can't spell though, because he puts 2 L's in Excel. It's EXCELLS Fun. Excel, which is really Excel is Fun. When I met Mike, I was like, hey, you got to fix that font. because everyone thinks that there's two L's there. There's, you get it. Yeah. And then, I met Mike, and, we had a great time. We used to do those dueling podcasts every Friday. Yeah,
God,
those were a blast.
I remember now. Yeah. When did you stop doing those? Would that have been like 10 years back?
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Yeah. We used to, at the MVP Summit, I would go over to Highline College and we would do a whole bunch. And life just gets in the way, right? You get busy and you miss a week and then you miss a month and you miss a year. And now we've missed 10 years, But we still talk to each other. He's on speed dial on my phone. So.
If we're taking turns to ask Bill questions, can I go next? I feel like this is what this has become for this episode. It's just ask Bill questions.
It should be a question of the Bill.
Yeah. So you've been getting involved in the World Championships because I've seen you've hosted before, haven't you?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that experience been? And are you going to come to Vegas at some point? Because I'm sure you would be treated as royalty, quite rightly, if you came along.
Okay, super interesting question. I think that the Excel World Championships on ESPN is surreal, right? It's just absolutely insane. For many years, I would do 35 seminars a year, and I had a great joke somewhere around 10:40 in the morning. I say, all right, here's one way to do this, but here's the 5-step way to do this. And anyone in the room doing the 5-step way, out of 100 people, there'll always be one or two. And I look at them sincerely and I say, look, my plan is to get Excel in the Olympics, right? And you have to pause there because everyone laughs at that. It's just completely ridiculous. I say, if so, you'll be on a national team because you're faster than everyone else in this room. I respect what you're doing. I've been making that joke, for 20 years. And now Excel is on ESPN. Like how just freaking insane is that? Yeah. It's like this joke finally coming true. So I love it. I love the fact that they're on ESPN. And, that first year at 4 a.m., it was 4 a.m. on the East Coast, not the best time slot in the world. And then we got bumped to 6 a.m. the next year, the second year I hosted, which is better because now people are getting ready for work. But then one night I'm just sitting around watching American football on Saturday night and the game ends early and ESPN doesn't know what to do. Like they don't know how to fill this time. And all of a sudden, prime time Saturday night, I'm on ESPN, hosting the Excel World Championships. Like this is the greatest time slot ever, just to have in their rerun vault, which just cracks me up. It's like, hey, I'm on TV. Vegas is an interesting question. I've stopped traveling until our next topic. Now I'm going to be forced to travel again, so maybe Vegas is back in the cards. I don't know.
It'd be so good to see you there. You got to come.
I haven't gone to the summit for so long, and it was good just to not travel. Like I loved being there. I loved doing seminars. I just hated the travel, and so life was so much less stressful. But now here we are. It's a new world, and no one needs us for content anymore. So you got to go trade time for money, I guess. Although, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I heard that there was going to be an esports Olympics. So actually, there will be an Olympics that is esports related. I think there were plans for that. Whether Excel makes the cut, I don't know, but I did hear there were plans for an esports Olympics.
I think the esports people still don't quite understand us. They look down on us like we're trying to invade our territory, their territory. I don't know. The esports thing. I don't know. If that's our way in, we should be nice to them, right? We shouldn't make any disparaging remarks about esports.
Yeah.
It seems like if there was a busload of people on their way to the esports event and that bus unfortunately careened off a cliff, I don't think anyone would lose any friends. I don't know. Okay.
But it is surreal. Like you're right. Everything you said is right. It is surreal. I'm going back to Vegas this year, and just seeing people battle it out in a spreadsheet is crazy.
You have the same jacket, same coat. Is that your branding?
I'm competing this year, so my stretch target is if I can get to the finals and get anywhere near the stage as a competitor, I'll have a crazier coat. I'll have dancers. I'll hire them. I'll see them in Vegas. There'll be dancers in the casino. I'll just be like, I need you for 30 seconds for my ring walk. but I've got to get better first as a competitor, or I won't get near that stage.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you make it, when you make it, I'm gonna say this: when you make it, I will have complete, utter respect. I was there one day, and another MVP who will remain unnamed showed up, and I'm like, "Wait, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were a host." He's like, "I'm competing." I'm like, "Oh no. MVP should never compete in this. We will get our butts kicked because we are not in Excel 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and these people, they're just a whole level of super. Yeah. Like my smartest thing was never to compete. Always to even go back to Monolith. It's like, yeah, they're insanely good at Excel. I know a lot about Excel. They're insanely good.
The top guys are crazy. Dim early, obviously. I mean, he is an MVP, but he's also just a legend in the esport. Right. There's a young guy called Aditya from India who competes. But I think there aren't many other than me now. I came 53rd in the last round in the world, which I was chuffed with. So I'm kind of getting better and better each round.
How many make it to the finals? Is it still 16? Or
the very finals, there would be 12 on stage. I think it's something like 120 something get in. You can do like a last round qualifier in Vegas. So I'll do that if I haven't pre-qualified. I've put myself up for the live stream in September. So yeah, we'll see. It's very hard, but I find it really rewarding.
I just jumped over to Excel for some quick math. 53 minus 12. You're just 41 spots away. There's just 41 people that you need to climb up.
Problem is they're all
it
really
seems
good.
Like a long way. Yeah, right. I think somewhere around 13, 14, 15, 16 are some of those people that, are scary good. Scary good.
So if you follow the Bill system, some of them might be in a bus. So therefore that might move you up.
Swerve into them. But even commentating on this is just bonkers. I've tried to watch. I haven't watched it enough to get into what's going on. I'm just like, what happened then? What?
Yeah,
hey?
No, it's impossible. And even the first year model off in New York City, it's a tiny little room, and you have you're wandering around actually looking at people's laptops over their shoulder, trying to make some sense out of what's going on. It's definitely, I don't know. It's hard to make it interesting. Oh, he just used a VLOOKUP. I mean, the funniest thing, and I forget her name. She jumped over into VBA, and Dan Mayo was the other commentator. Her VBA function was flip it and reverse it. And Dan is like, I can't believe she would type a name that long because it's going to have to type it. And I said, wait a second. That's a Missy Elliott lyric. Complete respect that she's throwing out rap lyrics on her functioning. Like, yeah, okay, you're competing for $30,000 here, but that was funny.
Giles was saying how all his lambdas start with humble.
Yeah, I do. I've got humble mods, I've got like literally humble string split. But I do that just for the moment when I am on a live stream, and I can have that being called up, and hopefully somebody commentating will see it and go, look at that legend. Look what he's done there, which they won't do, because if it is somebody like Dim or Michael Jarman, they'll be like, what an idiot. Like, why didn't he just call it _mod?
But I believe that Jack Kennedy has her function names, and then at the end puts an underscore, and then who she got that lambda from. So it could be like blah 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 lambda underscore Peter Bartholomew, or blah 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 lambda underscore Giles Male, or so they're on their podcast, and she said it's kind of a way of recognizing the people who have kind of done the work in the background, because you're just pulling out these lambdas, like but it's somebody else has actually written it, and that's just a nice way of recognizing the fact that it's somebody else has put in the hard work in that piece.
Does autocomplete kick in so they can just type, like, they don't have to type the whole Peter Bartholomew, do they?
I hope it kicks in. There's a lot of characters in Peter Bartholomew.
Yeah, right. Or John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt wrote this one.
Yeah, it kicks in. It does. Thank God.
Good. So, question of the week. We get back to it. We've gone off on a tangent. So,
are we just doing that? Oh, no, was that not it?
Well, back in, we've done a bit on GPT and Copilot and things, but where's this heading And also, Ken was on the podcast a couple of weeks back, Bill, and he was pretty angry about how it's been ripping off people's content.
Oh, yeah. It is.
And also, from a publisher's point of view, like books have been ripped off. But I also want to sort of meld into this very long and winding question, your view on like just basically copyright theft as well. So because LinkedIn's terrible for it, people publishing whole books and things like this. So have you got a view on that sort of stuff?
Okay, copyright theft is an interesting one. I believe the people that can give me $20 for a book are going to give me $20 for a book. They're not going to steal it. I believe that. There's parts of the world where a $20 book price just is not going to work. Like it's it's just insanely expensive. And so in those parts of the world, I get it that there's piracy sites. And when I go to those sites and there's 60 Excel books there, I better have a bunch of them on that shelf, right? Because if my book is not even good enough to steal, like, what does that say about me? And, a few authors that write for me, they're like, hey, go get this book taken down. And then I do, right? I'll get it taken down. But then it's going to be like, well, yeah, geez, seriously? You're not even good enough to steal your book? So I think it's there. And I think the honest people are going to be happy to give me $20, right? So I have no problem.
Yeah.
The fact that all of these bots it's too late. They've already taken our content. There's nothing we can do about it now. And it's not like I'm going to stop using ChatGPT because I don't appreciate where they got the stuff from. It's just like, let's live with this. It's the new reality. The thing that a little bit irks me is we looked at the website traffic and we're like, oh, shoot, things are falling off because you just go to Google and you get your answer with 0 clicks. And we thought they were falling off a little bit. But it turns out they were falling off more than that because what really is happening is a lot of that traffic are other new up and coming bots that are out there just harvesting things, right? And I don't like it. I like to make a fraction of a penny from everyone who comes because we're showing them relevant ads. And the advertisers are like, hell, you got a lot of bots. Like, we don't even want to place ads there because of all your bots. So, we went out, and this actually stung someone in Power Query recently. We implemented a program to piss off the bots, right? If we detect that a bot is there, it sends them to a link with 2.5 gigabytes of trash, right? And it just sends them, they never find their way back to us. So now I can go to the advertisers and say, hey, well, the people who are still there, the people who are there, they're real humans. We've gotten rid of the other people, right? And so they're coming back, which is great. But it's just that whole like, oh, things aren't that bad because look, the traffic is here. Well, it wasn't real traffic. It was all just bots. So I'm completely accepted the fact that everything we have has been taken and they're smarter than we are and they're using it, and that's just the new reality. Let's find some way to go forward and find some way to be useful. I don't know. I could sit around telling stand-up jokes or singing bad songs, or I don't know. There was something that I won't have to stand at the front of Walmart handing out shopping carts to people coming in.
We talked a lot. I think it was with Ken, wasn't it? Where maybe it'll end up with lots more in-person interaction. Well, I'd love that anyway, but maybe I don't know if that's a view you share, Bill. Like the value somebody like you can definitely continue having is meeting people and that face-to-face interaction.
And I love those live seminars. There was nothing better. Those 35 seminars I did every year. Once 8:30 came around and that day starts, that was just absolutely the best. And if you could make a room full of CPAs, accountants go, 15 minutes in, you knew it was just going to be a glorious day, right? And every time I would do a seminar, I would learn new tricks. I had prizes, I had swag. I got swag for the first person who shows me up today. And the joy when I learned some new tip from someone in some town, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I can't wait to get home and put this out on YouTube just to see if anyone else knew that this weird thing existed. I mean, it was so much fun. And it was a chance to sell everyone a book. They all take the book back to their office and, then Mr. Excel on the spine lives, right? So, the new reality is, I'm going to go back and do a few more of those. Like, I'm not going to do 35 a year, but I'm going to go back out and see if that's still a thing. Like, will people show up? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I also wonder if there'll be because your AI will be able to generate however much stuff, but there'll always be an extent, a finish point at which it kind of goes, oh, I can't handle this, or the next thing it produces doesn't work, or it doesn't work with something else. And so somebody will leave a business somewhere and there'll be a function that suddenly doesn't work, and they put it into whatever the AI is at the time, and it can't find what the issue is. It can't give you a reasonable answer. It can't help you solve it. And at that point, you'll have a premium for people that actually understand how things work, and will then be able to step in and be like, well, the problem is actually this thing here, and then they can then resolve it. So I think there'll end up being kind of a market there for people who are so nerdy on the stuff that they actually understand how things actually work in the background. Because I mean, ultimately, AI is just based on some exceptionally good probability model, right? That's
Right. Yeah.
You know, the probable answer for your question is this, but there'll be things that it will never be able to do, and it's only once you're really getting to the nuts and bolts. So it'll be, I mean, effectively, Charles Williams will become one of the richest people in the UK. That's probably.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Although, okay, so think about, I have a great little database that I bought from somewhere of all the things. Well, people start to type Excel into Google, and Google finishes their thought, right? So I bought all of those, and it's fascinating how much, so we have this huge pile of Excel questions that happen every minute. How many of those are just so simple that the GPT can get it right? Either way, Copilot or ChatGPT or whoever can get it right. And so, like, if that's 50% that get their answer straight away and don't have to click through, it changes the whole paradigm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but that's good. That's good. That will still be a need for us to be here for the hard ones, which is better, because who likes the simple questions? It's the ones that make you go. Yeah. Good. That makes me feel better, Mark.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. You've improved my entire weekend now. Thank you for that. So,
but equally, Bill. So I mean, for you, because of the way the content they produce and the channel that you've got, effectively, you take people from wherever they are and give them a solution, right? And I think we've briefly had email chats about this in the past. Is that if someone says, I've got this problem, how do I solve it? At no point do you go, well, actually, you should have gone back 15
right.
steps.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And fix the thing you did at the start. You're like, no. I'll take you from where you are, and I'll take you from where you need to be. Yeah. Now, an AI, when you ask a question, the AI isn't necessarily going to understand where somebody is.
Right.
So I think the content that you've got and the knowledge that you've got doesn't assume anything about things that people have already done, whether they've done things correctly or not. So I think that for your knowledge and expertise, there will always be space for that, because people will they'll back themselves into a corner and have nowhere to go.
Or their manager backed them into that corner. Like I never say, like, why would you do that? I understand why you have to do that, because you have a stupid manager who's asking you to do this, right? And yeah, you never should have gotten to this point, but that's too late now. Here we are. Let's try and go, right? Because you're just trying to get the job done, so that way you can get on to the next job. So, yeah.
And I think that does make your content unique. I mean, the rest of us are probably like, well, you've got to go back 5 steps
right.
and fix that piece first, and then we can answer this question. Yeah. So I think I think in terms of your content, there is a space there that other people aren't filling. So hopefully that for you, you're safe.
The other day I was working on the book, and you're like down to the last few days on the book, and I made a critical mistake and then did 17 more tasks after that. Right. And that critical mistake was going to cost me, the better part of an hour to go fix. And you're so tempted to undo 18 times, but then you've lost, like, you fixed the one critical mistake, but then everything like 2 through 17, you would have to go redo again. And I just no, I have too much. I don't have the will to go do those 17 steps again. I just have to accept the fact that I screwed this up and go find the screw ups and fix them. And so that's like the same kind of thing. Like, yeah, you should have gone back and not done that stupid ass thing that I actually remember did 5 years ago. I've been in the same corner again. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, this is great. I can just do this thing in Adobe InDesign. When I do that thing, it screws things up. And it's the memory. It's losing the memory, losing the fact that, like, oh, a year ago I promised a book. Like that. That's the one that. Yeah. Anyway,
I'll get you. There's been a few occasions recently where people have asked for a solution to something, or I'm partway through explaining something, and I realized that the actual proper solution is not the solution that they need.
Right.
They need the simple answer that they're going to remember tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to fix it right now because their brains are already full of what you've been telling them for the last hour.
Right.
So if you try and show them something, oh yeah, you don't promote headers like this, you need to do a reference a second step and then refer it back and set it as a parameter. And no, just delete that first row and type the headings in manually. That's the fix.
Right.
It's not perfect,
right,
but you'll remember it and it will work every time. And then tomorrow or the week after, as you got a little bit better, you'll then go, this typing in is annoying. What's a better way of doing that?
right.
But if you try and flood people, because you've learned this stuff over decades, and you try and go, oh no, this is the best way, and this is definitely how you have to do it, you just lose people.
Yeah. And like there's things we do is like, okay, the person leaves happy. And then, they're like, oh, I'm so happy with this great formula I have over here in column D. And then they delete columns A, B, and C. It's like, oh, let me introduce you to pace value. I don't know. Yeah.
What's the biggest out of all of us? What's the biggest spreadsheet we've ever come across in megabytes? Do you know? Have you come across some biggies? I'll start the bidding. 120 meg.
I was close to you. Definitely over 100. Probably close to that. Actually, I would have thought. Well, it wasn't my spreadsheet; it was someone else's.
Disclaimer.
The biggest one is just under 100. So I think it was like 96 point something. So I'm way below.
I don't have a size. I just know. I was in one of the Caribbean countries, and someone from the phone company was there, and he had every call record that happened. Power Pivot was brand new, and he was definitely in it because he had, I think it was 15 million records a day. Every day he was getting 15 million records and taking that.
Oh my God.
Pivot. Yeah. Like that's a serious, that's a lot of data. You're kind of jealous.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I wish I had that much data. I don't know what to do with it, but I'd run a pivot table or something.
A little epiphany moment for me with Power Pivot was a client had a 2 gigabyte text file from the tax office with all their transactions for the last 10 years or something. And it was too big, or 3 gigabyte. It was too big to open in Access because Access can only process a 2 gig text file.
Yeah, right.
So I opened it in Excel and it worked. I loaded it. It took like 45 minutes to load into Power Pivot. And then I could just pivot, slice and dice, and it blew me away. It blew them away. It was just like, okay, Excel is serious. It's a proper tool now. This was early Power Pivot days.
And so now I have to turn into the bar know-it-all, right? I mean, that happens because of the Vertipack engine organizes that data on the way in, and I'm seeing a 15-to-1 compression ratio. So like, 100 megabyte file becomes 15 megabytes when stored on disk in Power Pivot. So the same thing's happening. Like you're just jamming more than 2 gigabytes into less than 2 gigabytes. Thanks to that Vertipack. It's crazy, right? That works.
So
I would be afraid to try it. Like I know conceptually what happened, but yeah. So I love the fact that you have that experience. That you actually did it.
Really good.
Yeah.
I think I heard Rob Collie say once that he came across like a 350 meg file that he was dealing with at some point. And then sort of Power Pivot applied to it and stuff like this.
Right.
But yeah.
That sounds like a Rob Collie story.
Wow.
What did you came across Rob because he was working at and you published his book, right? Which is like what a lot of us into Power Pivot and all this sort of stuff. So he was working in the Excel team.
He was on the Excel team, and then Rob had to move to Ohio, which is a horrible place to move when you're working at Microsoft, right? But he had to follow his kids from a previous marriage. And so I get a call from Dave Gaynor. He's like, "Hey, one of my guys is moving to Cleveland. You should look him up. Like, he doesn't not going to go in there." So Rob and I went to lunch, and that was an amazing lunch because I would pitch my conspiracy theories. Well, ever since this, the Excel team is doing that. And then Rob would have a completely logical reason why they had to do it that way. My story was so much better. I'm like, well, I don't care if that's the truth. My story is a better story. And we would it was so great because we would resonate. The pain points we had were the pain points they had. Yeah, we didn't want to do it that way, but it was too late, or whatever. And so it was really good. And then I published a couple of his books. In fact, his book is the best-selling book I've ever published. We were doing print runs. We were doing huge print runs, like 5,000-6,000 books at a time in color, right? At like $20,000 print runs over and over and over. It was just crazy how well that book. Rob one time figured out he said at retail, we sold $1 million worth of books. Now we're selling to Amazon, so we're not getting the $1 million, but it was definitely just the best selling book. Crazy.
Transformative book. So deserved to do well. I'm glad it did.
Yeah. Can I ask Bill a couple more questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Go.
Excellent. Wyn told us a story a while back that he got stopped in the street by a fan. Has that happened to you? Surely somebody stopped you in the street.
No, yeah. It was great. I was going down the escalator at an airport, and someone coming up the up escalator yelled, "Hey, Mr. Excel!" That was a cool one.
Nice.
And then a bar in my hometown, I had done a seminar for the electric company, and they were all out there, and so that's happened. And then this is such an insane story. I have a virtual reality headset back there, and there's an exercise program. I get together with this group of people every morning to work out before coming into work, and a few of them have, they're like, "Wait a second, are you the guy from the YouTube channel?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So that was cool.
That's really cool.
15 tiny minutes, 15 small minutes of fame in very small specific circles. So yeah.
It's a big circle though. That's the thing, is I think we all downplay it's such a niche community, but it's massive. It's a huge in theory.
And your neighbors, you say, you move to a new place and you tell your neighbor that, what you do, you give Excel tips, and people are like, "Oh, he's unemployed." It's just like no one can believe you can make a living for 20 years.
Yeah, get a proper job.
Right. Yeah.
My other question for you is: Do you still go to the MVP summit every year? Because unless Microsoft kick me out, it will be my first renewal. So I'm looking at going, and I'd be intrigued to know what it's like, just from your point of view.
I thought it was just amazing. My first year, John Walkenbach was there, right? Who was legend, right? I had read all of John's books, and I was just in awe of the people who were there. And I went religiously almost every year until the pandemic. And then, over the pandemic, I learned that in 4 hours, you can attend all the sessions and then have the rest of your day to get things done. So lately, I've really just been enjoying the fact that I can watch online and not disrupt everything. So I don't know if I'll make it back. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah.
Good to see you there if you change your mind.
Sure,
you start getting out. So you're saying you're going to start doing in-person sessions.
So I just had a Facebook post. Hey, my 70th book shipped to the printer. And one of my old clients who had me there every fall for an accounting conference was like, "Hey, we see your 70th book is out. We know you're not traveling, but we have a huge attendance this year. Maybe you would like to come out and promote your book." And so I talked to Mrs. Excel. I'm like, "Hey, this is, I've flown across the country for 19 people, which was fun for those. I mean, it was great. It was a great day, but it doesn't pay a lot, but having 200 people in a room selling a book to everyone, I'll be the best-selling author in that town that day. I'll sell, Harry Potter that day in that town. So, we're talking about like maybe 5, maybe do 5 a year or something. I don't know, just some number, just to get out and have fun again. I mean, the webinars are great, but you can't see everyone's reaction.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But do you think that'll give you a little taste though? And then the MVP summit, you think,
oh yeah, maybe. You never know.
Right? Yeah. Traveling around.
Right.
Definitely worth going to though, Giles, because you I met Mark Mark there. So,
oh God, that was your highlight. You met Mark.
Yeah. Well, Bill wasn't there.
Oh dear.
I like to say that the MVP Summit is a lot of people drinking beer all night, talking about Excel, and then during the day when the bars are closed, the Excel team entertains us with 4 hours of content that they want to show. So there's a lot of networking that would happen at night. Those are great.
I'll try and go. I was strategically trying to figure out when I'm going to bump into you in person, Bill. So maybe it won't be the MVP Summit. And also, if I do go, do you think I should, in my first ever attendance, walking into a room with like John Peltier and Ken?
Do not wear the coat.
Should I do the whole fur coat?
No, definitely wear the coat. Definitely. If you show up without the coat,
shall I bring?
We won't know who you are. Don't bring the dancers though, because they're not under NDA, so they would have a horrible time. They'd have to sit in the lobby.
Gotcha. Okay, just me in the coat. All right.
Like taking a spouse to the summit is so boring for them because like there's only 1 or 2 events they can go to. So what are they going to do?
Gotcha.
Go see Seattle. Yeah. It's so funny. I would have sworn you were at the summit. Where did you do the thing where you walked up to Ken Poles? And
that was the Global Excel Summit where he told me to work
okay. In my head, I juxtaposed that you were already at the summit.
Yeah, he enjoyed that more than I thought he was going to.
It was hilarious.
All right, folks, we are coming up to time, and I happily just sit here all evening, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, good surprise, Wyn. Good surprise. I was very nervous and I was very grumpy because I was like, why am I the only one that doesn't know? But now I understand.
Awesome. Mark Proctor, this will make no sense to anyone else. But the last time we spoke, I went to see Fatboy Slim. I went to see Fatboy Slim, which is so uncharacteristic for me. I drove 3 hours to Miami. The show started at midnight, which is a time of day when I'm never awake. And I had the greatest time of my life. And at the end of the show, there were only 20 people left because they were all bankers. And I got a high five from Fatboy Slim for being the old guy who showed up. Yeah, it was
no way.
Nice.
So, thank you so much for hooking me up with Fatboy Slim, which will make no sense to anyone else. But
so for some context, weren't you wanted? So you found some of Fatboy Slim songs, and you effectively wanted to do some Excel analysis about how few words you needed in a song to be popular. Right. Yeah. And then you started to like it. And then you did a webinar for me and we started talking about Fatboy Slim. And then someone said, he's live in, wherever
he's coming live to Florida. He's going to be right, he's going to be in your neighborhood. And it turns out he was like 2 hours away, but in a very scary place where everyone loses their cell phone. So I went to the artsy thing where it was a pre-party and, like sponsored by Chase Bank. It seemed like a safer environment, but even then I was completely out of my element. There we are. Yeah, I originally was going to mock the fact that he wrote an entire song with only 6 words, and those 6 words were in the title. And so I had an Excel macro that you could put in 6 words and generate a Fatboy Slim song. But then I learned that the guy's legend, right? I mean, he started a whole thing, and so I just abandoned that podcast, which is one of the few times in my life I've ever used a filter. So
now you're a super fan.
Well, for that day I was, so do I have a Fatboy Slim album at my fingertips? Probably not, but just the fact that you knew who I was talking about. Like, have you heard about this guy? Yeah, right. Norman Cook.
Good
legend. Absolute legend. Yeah.
All right, folks, I think we better wrap it up.
This was so much fun. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Bill.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Really appreciate it. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we will catch you in the next session.
We're 1 year in, so it's time for a jingle. A birthday song that could be a hit single.